Welcome to Relationships on Reddit. In this series, we look at posts on Reddit. We'll check out some of the responses. I'll provide some coaching questions for exploration, as I would for a client who is in the situation. Then finally, I'll provide my commentary at the end of just being myself, unfiltered and unadulterated. Hi, I'm Janelle, the relationship coach behind The Successful Invisible. Check out my links below if you're interested in working with me for group coaching or one-on-one coaching. The goal of exploring these posts is to have you become more discerning, intentional, and successful in your dating and relationships. All right, so today I'm bringing you a really great relationship on Reddit that I saw in the relationship advice Reddit, and I thought it was pertinent and very important because I feel a lot of people fall into this when they get into the marriage phase of their relationship, where they're just kind of bored and they don't know how to necessarily move forward, pivot, or whatever from there. So let's jump into this one. I think it's a good one, and I think it'll give a lot of insight to any of you who may be going through the same thing. All right, 38 male with a 33 female wife wondering what married couples with kids actually do. I guess not so much advice as more trying to gauge what life is supposed to be like. I am 38 male married to a 33 female for nearly 10 years. First thing is, we have always had a dead bedroom. She is extremely low libido. I don't think will ever change. I'm not happy about it and considering divorce. We have 3 young kids, 7, 4, and 2, and our life is just boring. We are busy with full-time jobs and don't have much support for looking after the kids. What I'm curious about, people in the same situation, do you still go for date nights with your partner? Do you talk and have conversations about things other than kids? Or are your nights pretty much full of scrolling phones and watching TV? My wife and I have little connection anymore. It feels really abnormal. But at the same time, having young kids is hard, so maybe it is normal. Any insight would be appreciated. This first comment comes from Spring Aloe. And they say, it's been 5 years since my husband and I dated because we have zero support system and he has a super hectic work schedule. But we have our cuddling routine. If we don't get to talk much during the day, we would cuddle in bed with phones off and lights off. We will talk in the peaceful darkness about our days, our feelings, and any random things that come to our minds, while we cuddle and hold each other's bodies tightly. I love the cuddle routine so much. It feels so intimate and I feel connected to him again after a long day. I really think that works in my case and helps us connect all the time. And there was a response from No Mess 2740LK. I do believe that you can get lost in the day-to-day activities and lose the connection with a spouse. All right, this next comment is from Sunny Ghost. Sounds like you need to start dating your wife again, which does not mean just going on dates. Then Spirited Rink responded, sounds like you are both burnt out and don't make time to reconnect emotionally. Young children are exhausting, and if you don't have any downtime to recharge and reconnect, life will just feel like a holding period. You need to address the issues you are facing head on and work to find solutions. People on Reddit have the most ridiculous names. So this next comment is from one who calls himself Dip Shitastan. Not a direct response, but more information first. Why did you marry her if you've always had a dead bedroom? Did you think you'd be the one person in 100,000 who sees it improve after marriage and kids? Or did you think sex was unimportant and now it is? Now that's a very valid question. If physical intimacy is something that is important to you when you're going into a relationship and you notice the person you're choosing to partner with is not showing the same enthusiasm, like you two have a mismatched libido, definitely something to seriously consider and discuss, because we know that infidelity can sometimes come from, and oftentimes come from, someone feeling there's a lack of that physical intimacy in the relationship. So it's a very important factor to consider, especially you're out here, you're dating, we're grown. You need to discuss these things earlier rather than later to understand if this person is in alignment with you and if you want to continue to invest in the relationship with them. I love this next comment from the General with a J. And they say long term relationships take actual work. Go to couples therapy. And I admit I felt that there was a bit of a trying to kind of cop out and leave early and not really put work into unraveling the problem, especially when this person is saying they have 3 young children and because of a dead bedroom, they want to divorce their wife. That to me seems like very odd of an idea to be the first thing that you would put in the post when you are trying to figure out what's going on if you genuinely want to work at it. So to me, first impression is this person isn't necessarily trying to work at it and wants an easy solution. And this next comment, love that a wife and mom is chiming in. So just roll with the punch says, as a wife and mother, it's really frustrating when I hear men talk about how their wife with young children has low libido, air quotes, when I don't hear first about all the things he's doing to make room for her to get in the mood. Are you making any meaningful connection with her? Or are you just expecting that once she finishes loading the dishwasher and changing poopy diapers for her to suddenly be super turned on? It's a season, dude. Having young kids is tough as shit, and having a husband on the to-do list versus helping with it doesn't make us horny. Very, very just potent point right here. And I think the way OP wrote this, it does not seem that that he is really engaged with the helping of sharing of the household responsibilities. So they have a 7, 4, and 2-year-old, and the fact that he mentioned that they both work and then at the end of the day he's scrolling through phones and watching TV, to me that does not sound like someone who is an active participant in helping share the household responsibility, which could in turn, to me, at first glance, be why his wife has very low sexual attraction to him, because he doesn't seem to be helping. Now, this is just what I'm inferring from what is written, but it does not sound like that there is equal division of labor in the household, but both of them work. So, but even if she was a stay-at-home mom, she would still need help. It also doesn't sound like that they have support outside of themselves to really help with the management of, raising 3 young kids. All right, now I want to move on to some green flags and red flags that I'd like to point out and identify within this Reddit post to help you, my beautiful listeners, become more self-aware and intentional in your own dating journey. Starting off with some green flags that I did notice about this post is that there seems to be awareness and a seeking of insight. So OP does recognize that something is kind of off in him and his wife's marriage and did lay out the responsibilities that they both have pretty clearly. And it seems like they're actively seeking advice. Now, not sure if Reddit is the best place to start, is the best place to go, but it is a start. Let me be fair and say that. So this shows a desire to potentially work on whatever this is and to crack this nut and, get his intimacy with his wife back on track. The second thing, green flag I want to point out is there's a long-term commitment here. So they've been married 10 years and their oldest is 7. So that tells me that they at least had some time. They've been together a long time, but also they had some time just to enjoy one another in their marriage. So 3 years before they started bringing, little people into the mix and sharing that attention and not just being focused on one another. So a marriage of nearly 10 years is quite a feat, especially in this day and age, and shared experiences. So they do have a foundation to build on and things that they can go back to. And I feel that him including that was important because it also lets me know that there is a level of commitment that he is able to step up to. And then responsibility is a green flag. I would say this can be a green or a red flag based upon the way it was written, but we'll go from the green flag perspective here. Both partners are invested in the family, meaning that everybody is working and contributing to the household, seem to be, full-time jobs, etc. So I think that is very clear about everyone contributing, at least financially, to the household. so they can continue to have a place to raise their children and, of course, a place to house themselves. And while he's trying to unravel what's going on about maybe feeling bored in his marriage, and then, next steps. Now, as with most of these Reddit relationship posts, there are many more red flags than green flags. So let's kick it off. The first thing I noticed was OP was very upfront about saying there's dead bedroom. So it seems like there is a lack of intimacy between him and his wife, but that has always existed where their libidos did not match. Now, just thinking about it from a coaching perspective, I definitely think there's something deeper there that needs to be explored, outside of having three small children. But being that is a case, and that's something that he added in his post, there could be a prolonged lack of physical intimacy. And as we said, that goes into something deeper with about being able to emotionally relate and feeling safe maybe with one another, etc. And feelings of rejection, feelings of disappointment, feelings of distance, just all types of things that they would be really well positioned to engage a licensed marriage therapist or, relationship therapist, counselor, etc., who is trained and licensed to work with these sorts of issues, because there seems to be a lot of layers to unpack. Second red flag to me was there is a lack of connection. So it seems that, and I think this also goes into a lack of connection with his wife. OP has with his wife, but also responsibilities at home. I'll go back to something I said a little earlier when I was talking about the comments, where if you have a 7, a 4, and a 2-year-old, you don't have time to scroll on your phone at night. So the fact that that was something included, I don't think there's just a lack of connection with his spouse. I think there's a lack of connection with the children, as well as a lack of sharing household responsibilities in any type of equitable manner. To me, as a woman, that would lead me to not want to be intimate with a person that I see as the other adult in the scenario, who, because of their lack of engagement, is causing me even more work, because they both work jobs, and it sounds like they both work full-time jobs. So that lack of connection is really not just impacting his wife, but impacting his kids and increasing the workload on his wife, which to me, this is a powder keg. So really hope that they go and seek some marital counseling, or are able to get help with the management of, helping them with 3 small kids, etc. Another red flag sounds like stagnation of activities. It doesn't sound like he has any hobbies. It doesn't sound like she has any hobbies. But to be fair, they do have 3 small children. So I don't know. I can't infer from the post if that's because of just the life stage that their children are in and they take up so much time, or if they genuinely don't have any. But if his primary thing after work is to scroll through his phone and watch TV, that just shows a lack of excitement on many levels in his life. And that's just stagnating. And it's further contributing to the boredom that is felt within this marriage. Potential isolation is another red flag. So they mentioned that, they don't have much support for the kids. And that leads to me, I'm inferring this, that OP feels very isolated, and his wife probably feels overwhelmed. 3 small people and no help to support you sounds like, oh my goodness, that's mind blowing. And I know people do it every day, and hats off to people who are doing it to the best of their abilities, and not, children are harmed or abused or anything in the process, but that's a lot to carry. And like the biggest red flag, like flashing like a light, is contemplation of divorce. So he's considering ending the marriage about this. And to me, that shows that that's the level of severity of the dissatisfaction. But it also really brought up to me a lack of thinking outside of oneself. Unless something as extreme is involved, him divorcing his wife when women usually get custody, they have a 2, 4, and 7-year-old, just because you're not getting, physical intimacy needs met, seems extremely selfish, and seems like somebody who doesn't want to do the work to try to fix. 10 years is a long time, and you want to throw away something that, to me, it sounds like may have never been there in the first place, and instead of addressing it at that time, or making a different choice in who to marry, you married them, and now they have 3 kids, so you would burden them with being a single parent, breaking up the household of the children, and then helping less than he does now. So there seems, OP has some self-awareness about some things, but a red flag to me seems like, contemplation of a divorce versus actually seeking help and wanting counseling, and honestly doesn't seem very helpful in the household, but wants to do something further to distress and cause more stress on his wife. Just also seems very selfish, and that's a huge red flag for me. So overall, I really feel that they need to really seek the services of a licensed, mental health professional that is, really their niche expertise is working with couples, a marriage counselor, therapist. They probably need individual as well to work out their individual stuff, because 10 years, I'm sure there's a lot of layers to what their time together has meant, whether that's been with children or without them. So I'm really hoping he takes some of the feedback that he saw in the different comments and, takes action on it. Now let's jump into some coaching questions. These are the type of questions that I would ask a client if they were going through this similar or exact type of situation, just for their own self-awareness, self-reflection, help them grow, help them get out of maybe a closed pattern where they're not seeing any other ways of being or potential actions to take. Let's jump in. Question 1. What are the most cherished moments or memories in the relationship that evoke feelings of connection and intimacy? This is an important question. Going back and looking through the memories of 10 years of marriage will be very insightful for OP. And of course, there have been good times and bad, but it will also allow for more clarity to come forward in understanding what they want or what they started to sow into the relationship, and also bring about some insights about where the deviations and the loss of connection is coming from in their relationship. Question 2. How do current daily routines and activities align with the initial vision or desires for the relationship? This goes back to responsibility and the division of labor in the house, specifically in the household. Because they have 3 young kids, it would be very fruitful to look at what's currently going on and then what they had maybe initially discussed about how to divide labor in the household. That will likely bring a lot of insights around their lack of connection and communication. Question 3. In what ways can proactive steps be taken to reignite intimacy and connection with a partner? So this is now talking about OP and his wife specifically. What can they do to try to work on, in their current set of circumstances with 3 small children, working full time, everybody is, busy. How can they be proactive in reigniting their intimacy? Question 4. What barriers or challenges are perceived in seeking external support or intervention, such as couples therapy? I did find that curious that OP never mentioned therapy, but skipped immediately to divorce and wanting to leave a wife with 3 small kids. Like that blew my mind. But I think that's a great question for anyone in the situation who's thinking the same thing. Why have you not thought of therapy to really work out these problems or work through this block or lack of communication or lack of intimacy that's currently being experienced? Question 5. How do personal needs and desires align with the current state of the relationship, and what changes might bring them closer? And I feel this is the type of question that posed in a safe, of course, emotional setting, a safe setting with OP and his wife, would allow each of them to express kind of their needs and their desires and what their ideal would look like and what they need from the other person, because I feel that's not being said. I'm just trying to put myself in the wife's shoes here, and there's a lot of unspoken things going on. That's all I can say. I don't know exactly what, but there's just a lot of unspoken things going on. And OP's frustration is coming out in this particular manner with the lack of physical intimacy, considering divorce, scrolling on the phone at night, watching TV. So listen to these questions again, take your own personal notes about them, jot them down, as well as feel free to leave comments if you feel you would do something different in handling this scenario, or what ideas come up for you when thinking about what to do in a similar scenario. Okay, now on to my favorite part of recording, and that is the just my thoughts portion, where I just give my unadulterated opinion about this situation with OP. So I'm sure it's already come through, from the comments I was responding to earlier to the questions I was posing and the green and red flags, is that I feel OP is I feel he's selfish, to be honest. And if I were in his wife's shoes, I would definitely be proactive. First about communicating to understand where his head is at, and then about making decisions, even hard ones from there. But the first thing I would want to do if I were in his situation, 38, he's a grown man, 33, she's a grown woman. These are not people in their early 20s who aren't understanding how to manage. They first need to come to the table and communicate. And I feel the best way for them to do it is be open to the conversation, but also be open to having sitting down with a licensed mental health professional, a marriage counselor, a couples therapy, so they can get their feelings out on the table and have an independent third party there, a neutral third party, where they feel they would be given the space to be heard, like one person isn't interrupting the other, etc. So I feel OP is very selfish, and I would be very hard pressed to want to be intimate with a person who I feel is not doing their share. And specifically, I'm talking about the division of labor in the household. And that would not make me want to be physically intimate. As the one commenter said, after changing a poopy diaper, a woman is not in the mood to then, be playboy for her husband. She's tired. She's worked a second shift. And I feel there's also a lack of empathy here. I feel the way he wrote the post, he wrote a lot of facts. I think he's clear on what it is, but I think he lacks empathy to understand that his wife is not just working a full-time job like he is. She's also coming home and taking care of 3 children, and it doesn't seem like they have support. That woman's probably exhausted. And if he was more engaged with the kids or even asked her, how can I help? I think that would open up the lines of communication as well. So I feel the lack of empathy, being selfish, centering his own physical needs instead of taking a step back and really taking the first step forward to talk to his wife and ask her where her head is at, what's going on, and then also not doing that initial research to find, couples therapist, marriage counselor, whatever. To me, I can see divorce happening. I don't wish that on them if he doesn't really open his eyes and understand all of the moving parts in his current scenario, in his current living situation. So I feel that he's selfish. I feel that he is just narrowly focused on he is not getting his sexual needs met and not thinking about his wife's body has been ripped apart 3 times in the past 7 years. And that's a lot. So she may still be going, a 2-year-old, she may still be going through some symptoms, some postpartum symptoms, and a 2 and a 4-year-old, she never got a chance to truly heal between kids. So there could be other underlying, she may have health issues going on that she's trying to keep quiet or trying to not know about. So I think communication is the first thing that needs to happen between OP and his wife. And if he would just take the first step by extending the olive branch and say, hey, I'd like to sit down and even just ask, what can I help you with? I'm sure he sees his wife doing a lot of things around the house in the evening as he's sitting and scrolling on his phone and watching TV. And she probably doesn't complain because from the post, I was not getting the sense that there's a nagging component, and she just may not have the energy to, and she's kind of operating on autopilot. But this is going into layers of things going on. Another thing was the 10 years they've been together, they've been married 10 years, but she's always had a low libido. I feel this is also something about stepping back and expanding perspective. If his wife has always had low libido, there may be something deeper there. It could be that she just genuinely has a low libido. It could be that she has maybe some negative memories, maybe some sexual trauma in her past. Maybe, he's not engaging with her in a physical sense that's satisfying to her. So by default, she kind of tries to dissuade him. There could be a plethora of things going on. But once again, those things need to be discussed and out in the open. And I'm getting the sense that OP doesn't want to have that discussion because I think he knows he'll hear some things that he won't like to hear and or might hurt his ego. So to me, defaulting to I'm thinking of getting a divorce, that's an easy way out. And that's, once again, I think he's very selfish for that being the first thought or the thought he included in the post. And I feel that they can definitely work on their marriage and it can improve. But just from the way it's written, it's going to take a lot of work from both of them, to be fair. But I think that a lot of his mindset is going to have to change and his perspective is going to have to broaden and see beyond the end of the nose on his face in order for meaningful, lasting change to occur. And it's going to have to be a ripple effect. It can't just be, oh, he's, being able to get more sex, with his wife. It needs to be a plethora of things that have to change in a sustainable way for their marriage to be healthy, balanced, and mutually beneficial going forward. So I think they have a long road ahead of them, but if they've already been in this game 10 years, I feel that they are built for it. If they both, takes two parties, if they both want to do it, I think they can move forward and be very successful at it. Thank you for joining me today for this edition of Relationships on Reddit. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. In the comments, let me know some of the challenging or interesting dating situations that you have encountered in the past. Also, feel free to suggest other posts on Reddit that you would like me to include in this series. Thanks for tuning in today. This is Janelle, and I look forward to sharing some more posts with you next time. Check out my links below if you're interested in working with me for group coaching or one-on-one coaching.